Algebra 1, Sensei Learning System, Lesson 21. We'll be solving inequalities. And there's basically two rules. We must solve x to the left side, so x must be on the left. And the second rule, if we divide by negatives or multiply by negatives, the sign has to change. Okay, so let's start with those two rules in mind. Okay, here x is on the left, so this is good. So we'll go ahead and start solving for x. We'll get rid of the positive 11 by making a negative 11. Whatever you do on one side, we'll put on the other side. And the x comes down, the 11s cancel, the inequality comes down, and since these are different signs, you're going to subtract, so 7. And the greater number is 18, so it'll be a positive 7. Okay, so x is less than 7 is the solution. Now, we're also going to get the graph for this, which is going to be an open circle at 7, and this is going to be less than, so we'll go to the left, and that's it. Now for interval notation. Interval notation will be negative infinity to the left and then 7 to the right, but not including 7, so we'll put a parenthesis. So all three of these represent the solution. Okay, here x starts out on the right. We want it actually on the left. So I'm going to move the x minus 1 to the left side, flip the signs, and then put 16 on the right side. And now I'll start solving for here. So I'll add 1 to both sides, and I end up with x, the 1's cancel, the greater than equals comes down, and these are both positive or same signs, and so we'll add. So that's 17. So this is the interval notation. Sorry, it's not the interval notation, this is the set notation. So the graphic for this would be a closed circle at 17, and since this is x is greater than, it'll go to the right. Now the interval notation for this will be on the left side will be a closed bracket on 17, and then to the right positive infinity with a parenthesis. And those three are the solutions. Now for here, x is on the left side, so this is good. So we'll start solving. We'll subtract from 5 from both sides. The negative x comes down, the 5's cancel, the greater than sign is here, and these two are the same signs, so same signs we add, we get 14. The bigger sign is negative 9, so it'll be negative 14. Okay, now to get rid of the negative here, we're going to have to divide by negative 1 on both sides. So divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1. This gives us a positive x, but the rule says when you ever divide by negatives, you'll get a sign change. So this will go from a greater than sign to a less than sign. Negative 14 divided by negative 1 is positive 14, and this right here is our set notation answer. Now the graph of this is an open circle at 14, and the graph goes to the left. Furthermore, the interval notation is negative infinity to the left, 14 to the right, but parenthesis. So these are your four solutions, or three solutions, should I say. On this one, the problem is that x is on the right side, so we want x on the left side. So we're going to start putting everything in the other, on the other side. So negative x minus 5, negative x minus 5 here, and then we're going to have a switch of the sign here, and then negative 16. So everything has been switched. So we have x on the left. So now let's start solving by adding 5 to both sides. And what we get is the negative x comes down, the 5's cancel, the less than equal comes down. These are different signs, so we're going to subtract and get 11. The bigger number here is 16, which is negative, so the solution will be negative. Now I'm going to divide by negative 1 on both sides, and this becomes a positive x. We have a sign change, and this becomes a greater than or equal to, and this will be a positive 11 because negative divided by negative is positive. Okay, now the graphic for this will be a closed circle right at 11, okay, and this will go to the right because this is greater than. Furthermore, the interval notation will be a bracket to the left at 11 and a infinity to the right. So those are your three ways to write the solution. Okay, number 5. Number 5, we have x on the left, which is good. So we go ahead and start solving. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides to get rid of the negative 12. And then what I end up with is x comes down, the 12's cancel, the greater than comes down, and these are different signs. So different signs are going to subtract, since one is negative, one is positive. So we'll get 7. The bigger one is negative, so this will be negative 7. Okay, and this is my set notation answer. The graph of this would be an open circle at 7, and since it's greater than, it'll go to the right here. Okay, the interval notation of this is left side will be parentheses 7, comma, right side positive infinity, parenthesis. And those are your 3 solutions. Here, once again, we have x on the right and it should be on the left, so we're going to move everything. So all of this, x minus 6, is going to go to the left. The sign is going to flip over here to a less than, and the 16 is going to go over here on the right side. Now I'll start solving. This is subtracting 6. We're going to use an adding 6 on both sides. The x comes down. The 6's cancel. The less than or equal to comes down. And these are both the same sign, so they'll add. So we'll get a 22. And so x is less than or equal to 22. Now, this will be a closed circle at 22 since it includes 22. And since this is a less than sign, we will have all the numbers to the left of 22, including 22. The interval notation of this, it will be parenthesis negative infinity to the left and 22 with a closed bracket to the right that includes 22. Okay, number 7. Number 7, x is on the left side, so this is good. So let's get rid of the subtracting 2 by using an adding 2 to both sides. The negative x comes down, and the 2's cancel, and the greater than or equal to comes down. These are different signs, so they'll subtract, and we'll get 9. And since the negative 11 is bigger, this will be a negative 9. Okay, now, to get rid of the negative on the x, I'm going to divide by negative 1, and then divide by negative 1 on the other side. The negative divided by negative will give us positive x. We'll get a sign change, so that becomes a less than, and negative divided by negative is positive. So x is less than 9. Okay, furthermore, the graph of this will be a closed circle at 9, and since it's less than, it'll go to the left. Okay, the graphic for this is to the left, the interval notation will be negative infinity to the left, and then 9 up to the right, including 9. So I'll put a bracket there. So those are your 3 ways of writing the solution. On number 8, you notice that the x is on the right side, so we're going to switch all this. So we're going to make this negative 16 minus x over here, negative 16 minus x here, and switch the sign around to a less than, and then there's the negative 20. Okay, everything looks good now. All right, so now let's get rid of the subtracting 16. So I'm going to add 16 there, and then add 16 to the other side. And the 16 cancels, and the negative x comes down. The less than comes down, and these are different signs, so they'll subtract. We'll get 4. Since the 20 is larger, the negative 20 is larger, this will be a negative 4. So now I'm going to divide by negative 1 to get rid of the negative on the x. And when you divide or multiply by negatives, you will get a sign change. So if it's positive x, and this will now be a greater than sign, and negative divided by negative will be positive. Okay, so we have x greater than positive 4. Graphically, that'll be an open circle at 4, and we will go to the right because it is greater than. Furthermore, this will be to the left as interval notation will be a 4 with a parenthesis here, not including 4, and to the right will be positive infinity with parentheses. And those are your 4 ways of displaying the solution. Number 9. Number 9, x is on the left, which is good. So we're going to get rid of the adding 3. So I'm going to subtract 3, and then what you do on one side, you do on the other. And so the x comes down, the 3's cancel, and you have a less than or equal to here. These two are the same signs. The rule of the same signs add, so that'll be a 20. The larger one is negative, so this will be a negative 20. Okay, so this is finished. This is set notation. Now the graphic for this is a closed circle that includes negative 20, and since it's less than, it'll go to the left. So all the numbers to the left of negative 20, including negative 20. Now the interval notation for this will be to the left will be negative infinity, and to the right will be 20. We will include 20 by putting a bracket here. So those are your 3 ways to display the solution of the original inequality. Here, x is found on the right side, so we want that on the left side. So we'll make it x plus 10 here on the left, and change the sign here to a greater than sign, and negative 6 will be over here. Now, To get x by itself, we have to get rid of this adding 10, so we'll put a subtracting 10 on both sides. And we'll end up with x, the 10's cancel, the greater than, and since these are same signs, we're going to add those two. So that'll be a 16. The larger one is negative 10, so that'll be a negative 16. So x is greater than negative 16. Furthermore, the graph for this will be a open circle, oops, that's wrong, open circle at negative 16, and since this is greater than, it'll go to the right. Okay, furthermore, the interval notation for this will be to the left will be negative 16, but not including, so we'll use a parenthesis, and to the right will be positive infinity. And so these are the three solutions for number 10.